computer. I got it. All right, Paul, all yours.
Okay. So this is the update, I think the final update since the field day is 10 days away of where we stand. Again, this is a shared field day between Mark and the Damascus Emergency Communication Team. So the things that we started out saying we needed to do is obtain the field day call. We've done that. Identify operators. We'll go over that. Identify the volunteer workers. We've had quite a few volunteers, which is really great. We'll go over that briefly. We have an operating plan. We have Dennis taking care of the logging. Food and drink, Alex is taking care of. We're still looking for a host for the Zoom virtual chat room. We'll talk about that, and we'll go over the volunteer bonus points. Okay, so the operators we have, right now we're looking at a 4 Alpha as the class we're operating under. We're split between the pavilion and the south side of the street. We're going to have 4 operators set up in the pavilion, Dave with the GOTA station, Dennis, Pat, Lewis, and Hank's going to be in his RV on the south side operating the free VHF station. The trailer operation, we're going to have the Club HF station in there and one of the VHF radios set up where we can do WinLink and APRS. And that's a list of the people scheduled to be in there. Danny and Bill, Gabe and Alyssa, John overnight, and Mark in the morning. These are the volunteers we've had. These are the non-operating people that are doing something to help with the effort. Again, we thank all those people for coming out and lending support to this event. This is kind of the operating plan as it stands right now. You can see we're scheduled. There's a lot of flexibility on what bands people want to operate on. And the software Dennis has will let everyone who's operating take a look at what other people are doing so we don't step on each other. And per the rules, you can't do that. You're allowed 1 operation per band mode. There being 3 modes, voice, CW, and data. And the 160, 80, 40, 20, 15, and 20, 15 and 10 are the bands. And I don't think anyone's looking to operate on 160, so we're down to just the basic bands. The operating plan, the power plan, the Mark trailer is self-contained. Hank's RV is self-contained. Tom has volunteered to bring a generator to run the stations on in the pavilion, and it shouldn't be a great load because there are no amplifiers this year. You can't run more than 100 amps, 100 watts power. The grounding plan, Tom again is running that. And the antenna plan we've got pretty much worked out. We're still waiting for, I think, 2 final decisions on what we're going to do for antennas. Logistics plan, Friday at noon, we're going to bring the trailer in and start to set that up. And the people operating on the trailer are going to help with that. We hope to install the common ground system, both in the trailer and the pavilion. Saturday, some of the operators have other obligations on Friday, so they're going to be showing up Saturday morning to set up their stations. And then we'll have lunch. Beginning at 2 o'clock is the operating portion of field day. And then, as David's mentioned, 3 o'clock is the exam that he's giving. And then the operating part ends at 2 o'clock on Sunday, and takedown and cleanup starts then. Virtual chat room, we did this during the winter field day. It's a room set up for the people at field day and the people operating stations from home for field day to exchange information, ideas, to work out any problems with the people that are operating. The bonus points, I think we have pretty well covered. There's a couple areas that we're not going to have covered, but basically I think we have most of those areas covered. So thank you for the people that are volunteering to handle those things. Logging is going to be done by Dennis. He's also going to do the post-field day consolidation and preparation of entries. And again, part of the software suite that he has includes a status of all the other stations that are operating. So any operator can look at that, know what band and modes are available for operation. Alex, I don't know if at this point you want to talk about the food and drink. You're muted.
Yeah, so we talked about having lunch served Saturday and Sunday. We're starting Friday at noon, so we're not going to be serving lunch. Is that right, Paul, on Friday?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so we're just going to go right, but I'll make sure that there is water and that there are snacks. So things like chips and, some little sweet cookies or something. So anybody that, feels like they have the munchies, they can go ahead and have something on Friday. Yeah, Hank, you have a question?
Yes, I do. I have a correction to Paul's notation of the.
Oh, can I finish my food first? Hank, let me.
Yes, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
this is
no.
just whenever you're
I
ready.
thought it had to do with food, because let me just finish
No,
on the food, and then then I'll give it back to Paul. So, sorry. So, we're gonna have lunch on Saturday and Sunday, and then dinner is on your own. And there's lots of nice places around there, but there'll be lots of water. I mean, if you were here earlier, you heard David and I talking. We always run out of water because it just gets hot there. So I'll try to have extra amounts of water and Gatorade. So so everybody should stay hydrated, because you don't want to, it gets hot out there. And so I think that's it for the food. Are there any questions about food? Tom, do you have a question about food?
No, I was trying to look at the power thing, and I wanted to ask Paul a question about
Okay,
it.
so let me just finish this off, and then I'm going to hand it back to
Yeah,
Paul.
I have a question on the food.
Yes.
Somehow I missed, because my latency on my connection is bad. I got everything about dinner on our own, but you were saying lunch, breakfast, whatever on Saturday.
Right.
Friday?
So, I'm of two minds about the coffee. I always bring the big coffee pot. Nobody drinks the coffee. I'll get like one or two people drinking coffee. And so it's just kind of a waste. But I will have the water. I will have packaged, because this is something Tom brought up as part of a safety brief, is that we don't want to be reaching in and having like a communal, bucket of something that everybody's going to spread germs. So everything I bring is going to be singly wrapped, like donuts or chips, things like that. Everybody could you should have a little salt too on. So there will be things to munch on throughout, from Friday at noon until Sunday at 2. There'll always be something laid out to munch on. But the two meals are going to be Saturday and Sunday. Does that make sense?
Okay, the two meals are lunch.
Yes, on Saturday and Sunday. Okay.
Thank you. That was what my question was for you.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, Paul.
Another question on that.
Yes.
So we have no plans for breakfast nor supper on Saturday.
Well, we never have plans for breakfast. What we always have is like donuts and coffee. Somebody will bring coffee, somebody will bring donuts. That's what we've always done. There is no breakfast per se, right? Is that your question? We've always done so I go to the store and I buy like those little Debbie's donuts for they're singly wrapped and they're really yummy, and so people seem to enjoy that. There'll be chips, but we tried fruit one year. That was a disaster. The flies loved the fruit more than the people did. So we don't do fruit anymore. It's too hard to keep hygiene standards with the fruit around. So that's it. So there'll be stuff to eat, but that's what we've always done for breakfast. It's just kind of like sweets. Does that make sense? Sorry, it's not that nutritious, but it'll be filling.
there wouldn't be any objection to my bringing a big pot of chili for Friday lunch for those who had to come in without food, right?
Wow, that sounds great.
Okay, and then the other thing would be, I know the techniques, I've been trained in it, so I could buy some of the less sweet donuts and put them in individual bags. And I'll do it carefully and right. And that
Aw,
way,
well, that's really sweet of you, Tom. Whatever you want to do sounds wonderful. Thank you.
well, some of us are too sensitive to the real sugary stuff and need to avoid it. So I want to make sure we have an alternative.
Well,
for that.
that's a really good point. So what I'll do is I'll look for stuff that is, and they sell it, for, that has low on sugar. So I'll make sure, I'll make a point of that. Thank you. That's a good point. Okay.
And then how many coolers do you have to use for water?
Well, we always just have two. So one is for the water and one is for the Gatorade. Just to keep them separate.
But those are the individual bottles, right?
They're all individual bottles. Right. Right. And David has a good point that people, they'll take a sip from the water and they'll put the water down. I mean, every year I'm cleaning up half empty bottles of water, which is kind of a waste, right? But we've also tried people writing their names on it. And what they do is they take the Sharpie with them. So they'll be like, it'll get to two people and somebody will put it in their pocket without thinking, and we're done with the Sharpies. So that never really works all that well. And so we could ask people, but you get distracted. I mean, I've done it. You get a bottle of water and somebody says, hey, can you help me with this? So you put your bottle of water down and you go, and then you forget which bottle of water is yours. And you don't want to be drinking from somebody else's. So, you can only, you can't do 100%. You can only do so much because things are going to happen. And so you're going to find, that's just what happens. Okay. So any more food questions?
Yeah, there is the possibility of just using a 5-gallon cooler and let people use cups and stuff they bring to get their water. Sierra cup or anything like that's cheap enough, and you put it on your belt when you're not using it, so you can't leave it anywhere.
Well,
and that'll save us the cost of all those individual bottles, which are kind of expensive.
Well, we can do both. David wanted to bring his 3-gallon coolers. That's fine. And that'll probably help us bridge the from Friday to Sunday. We won't run out of water. So that's a great idea.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. And
Yeah,
I'll
this
look
is
forward
me
to the
again.
chili. Huh?
Right. So related to water, a 1 meter long string tied to the leg of the table will prevent the Sharpie from sprouting legs. That's number one. It's actually not coolers. These are water bottles with a pump.
Ah.
And in fact, I bought an electric pump, supposedly an electric pump, so you don't have to pump it. Push a button and water pours. You push a button and it stops.
I'll be curious to see it. Sounds great.
Well, I'm bringing the manual pump too. Plan B.
Plan
Have a
B.
backup.
Okay, sounds great. No, bring the cups. If you're gonna do that, bring the cups, okay? Because I don't have cups. All right. David?
Muted.
Ah.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm typing on my packing list.
Okay, good. Bring cups. All right, great. Thank you. Hank, food question?
No food question.
Okay, then I'm done. Paul, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Hank, you had a correction?
Yeah, I have two items. One is correction and the other is just FYI. The fact that you mentioned that we were a 4A, I only count a 3A. My station does not count. The GOTA station does not count. So that just leaves 3 stations as I see them. Does that make sense?
There's Dennis, Pat, Lewis, and the trailer. I count 4.
Well, okay. But who's operating the trailer?
The people listed there.
Okay, I understand.
Danny and Bill are
All right.
there for the first 2 hours. Gabe and or first 4 hours, I think. Gabe and Lisa are there from 6 to 8. John is there from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Mark is going to be there from 8 a.m. to noon. So there's still 2 hours of the trailer open. Other than that, it's booked.
So
Yeah,
the
well,
safety,
I understand. You just didn't have it on your operator's list as the trailer. And so that's my confusion. So we're good to go as a 4A. Now, my FYI was that my station is operating a 6-meter through UHF. So it's not just VHF. Sorry for the dog in the background. 6-meter VHF, UHF. And I will be hoping to have a mast with 2 beams, one for 6-meter, the other for UHF, VHF, along with a rotator. And my backup to that is a NFED 6-meter through 40-meter club antenna. And I don't know if I ever elucidated or sent you that information earlier, but that's all I had.
so the safety committee will need a stretcher for John K3LO if he's on from 4 to 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, they probably will. He's on from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. It's only 12 hours. He'll handle it with no trouble at all.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
Famous last words, number 265.
along those same lines, the extra station is wide open for operators. Anybody that wants to pick a specific time, they're very much welcome to that. And I'll put something out on the reflector.
Okay. Dennis.
Yeah, so I guess the question maybe is more to Hank. Are you going to be trying to operate when other people aren't operating on non-VHF stations?
Well,
Or are we going to actually
6
5A
meter-
then?
No, 6 meters through UHF is the extra station. If
Yeah.
somebody's going to operate on those frequencies, they need to coordinate with me. So
I thought
who's
you said
gonna- I mean, is anybody going to be operating 6 meters elsewhere?
But I thought you mentioned like 40 meters or something.
No, 6 meters through UHF.
Oh, okay.
Now, the backup antenna was a 6-meter through 40 meters. And that's just in case the 6-meter antenna doesn't work, or we have problems, or the storm takes it down, we can use a long wire. But I wanted to indicate that I was going to be using a club asset in this case, if nobody else was using the 6-meter through 40-meter antenna. So if anybody needs that, then I'll forego that. But I was just indicating that that's a backup antenna that I'd like to include in the resources that I need.
Okay, that clarifies things for me.
Okay, and one last item this year for the people operating from home. The rules this year allow for an aggregate club score, and ARRL will publish an aggregate club score for any individual who wants to specify the club. And we are specifying our club as Mark Deck. And I'll get an email out on the reflector before the event. So everyone who's operating at home, wants their score included, can include Mark Deck in their scoring sheet that they send into ARRL. And that's kind of what I have. Tom, I think you had a question first.
Yeah, the antennas, if you come up at all short on antennas, I've got a whole bunch of them here that are all ready to go and ready to use. So if anything happens with that, just let me know in time and I'll get them out to you. I may need some transportation assistance if it's any of the big stuff. So,
Okay. Yeah, I think we've got it covered. We're, Lewis, I think we're in the process of talking to him about an antenna for his operation. Most of the other people are bringing their own antenna, and we've got 2 antennas lined up for the Mark trailer. So I think we're in good shape, but I will certainly, when we get the plan finished, if we need something, I'll get in touch with you. And I've got your list of available equipment, so.
well, something that doesn't appear on that list, if we're up for it, some very short tripod fiberglass poles and 2 parallel dipoles make a Shirley array, and it's a dynamite NVIS antenna. And since we're right in the middle of the biggest concentration of hams in the country, it's a good way to blanket quite a ways out from us with a pretty good signal that's usually free of noise and stuff. So if there's an interest, let me know and I'll put the plan for that together.
Okay. Thank you, David.
So lower my hand and raise the mic. Did you, I didn't know, the list of bonus points. Did you have the QRP alternative power covered? They only require 5 Q cells on 5 watts. And I think the rules are if you charge up a battery with solar, let's say, and then you bring that to operate QRP. And most modern radios, you can dial it down to 5 watts, so you don't have to bring in a QRP radio and just temporarily connect it to that battery. Just a thought. That's an easy way to get 100 points.
Yeah, I don't think we had that covered. If that's something you're interested in pursuing, I'd be happy to hear about it.
Yeah, I mean, I have solar panels. Now, I think they could be
You really
charged
don't
up
need
ahead
to
of
do that.
time. What?
Let me interrupt a moment. Dave, the trailer has that capability already. You've got the FT991A and everything off of that is solar power. Nothing's been commercially generated.
So all you got to do is dial it down to 5 watts and do your 5 Q cells, and you got your 100 points. So you got to specially document that. Oh, easy. Well, that's the best way to get something done when somebody else does it for you. So yeah, that's easy pickings. Just low-lying fruits, low-hanging fruits. Yeah, so that's somebody has to remember to do that.
Yeah. Okay, Ed, you had a comment?
No, I just had a question for you. Do you have a layout of where you want the trailer on the other side of the street?
Oh yeah, I'll send it to you.
Okay, that way I can, if I beat you there, I can at least get it staged. So cool, thanks.
Okay, yep. Anybody else have questions or comments?
I have a comment on grounding whenever you're up for that.
Go ahead.
Okay, I've noticed field day after field day that the way people put their operating position together is they connect everything up in a hurry and they try the transmitter out and stuff. And then like the last thing they do is actually tie into the grounding, and sometimes they do it badly and we have to correct it. And people get mad at us because we're trying to stop them from operating and 2 o'clock has already gone past. If people will just discipline themselves to start with the safety stuff, the grounding stuff, then we can eliminate all that angst. Just start with that. And when you get to the end of your operating positions list, great. But if you start with the grounding stuff, it'll be done. And I wanted to remind everybody, each station is responsible for having some sort of surge protector. And the best thing to have is a surge protector and a power conditioner like the ones from Trace. In fact, I'll hold one right up in front of the camera so you can see it. No, I'll do that in a few minutes. I got to get it up.
Okay. Dave, go ahead.
Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Okay, just a really quick question on the grounding issue. Are we going to use the common ground through the patch panel with our antennas, or are we going to do separate antennas with our own ground rods or grounding kits?
Okay, great. I just have a few things and I just got back.
I don't know if you want to address that, Tom.
Well, the safest thing for everybody, since you're sharing power, okay, those that are sharing power should be on the same grounding array. Anything else is dangerous. If you've got different inputs into the same protected area, you can kibosh things that way. So if you're one of the operators in the pavilion, for instance, you can use the common grounding system. And if you're one of the operators on the other side, well, Hank's going to take care of his camper, and the trailer has 2 kits on board. So hopefully somebody will set up on that, but I'll be tagging it to make sure that happens. If there's going to be another operating position over there, we have to do something about their grounding. And if they're at all close to each other, they should be common. But if they're not sharing anything, that's not vital as long as they set up their own. You're muted, Dave. I'm sorry.
Just a
Well,
comment.
along
In the
those
past,
lines,
can you hear me
go
now?
ahead, Dave.
In the past, I've used a common, sorry, in the past, I've used a common ground, but once or twice I used battery power, did not use your power, and I plugged my computer into commercial, which is allowed for GOTA, because it was not connected to my rig. So that's the way I would prefer the configuration. This way I can go to a grounding rod for myself, and not necessarily, although I could connect into the common ground at this point, but I wouldn't be sharing AC power from the generator.
Yeah, but you'll be,
Tom, this is Hank. I have two of the same surface wave grounding kits that I will be bringing, so I think we'll be well set for field day.
yeah, just one last thing. The GOTA station is operating in the same place and you'll be using antennas unless you're using one that's just your own and will not be exchanged, then you'll be totally standalone and I have no problem with that.
Okay, so if I want a standalone antenna, not through the patch panel, then I don't need the common ground. Whereas if I have an antenna through the patch panel, I should be using the common ground.
That's correct. If you have no common conducted pathways in your operating location, your precautions are your own. But
Right.
it's very lightweight to extend the panel if you want it. So let me know in as timely a way as you can. Now, if I can take,
I just wanted to understand the options. I will probably go through the patch panel because I would like the opportunity to use other antennas if we have them set up.
understood. And I think that's the better way. Now, for just a second, if I could hold this thing up.
You're muted, Tom.
I'm sorry, this is an isobar surge protector. It's not only a surge protector, it's a power conditioner. And you can pick these up used like on eBay and so forth. And yes, you do have enough time. Don't glare at me like that for really cheap money, but it is the best way to protect your operating station's equipment from both power noise and also from any surge or spike that occurs. We've got layered protection, and one layer is provided by the club, but the last layer has to be provided by the operator. As a minimum, provide yourself with a surge protection on the power. So that's it. Back to
Tom, is there a model number?
just a second.
Is there a model?
No, this one's an LR 55863.
Okay, thank you.
Again,
This one happens to be an LR 55863. But this company's changed hands several times, so you're just going to have to look for an isobar protector. And I chose this one because it's got enough for me, but you may want to have a 6 or an 8, depending on what you're doing at your operating position. So, take into account your own needs. And that
Yeah,
way
they're kind of old. I used to sell those in the 80s, Tom. So they're really old, but they're great. They're great if you can still find them.
They're very good protection, and you can find them for a song. So anyway, thanks, Ed. Back to Nick.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Dave, you had another comment? Okay.
Sorry, no, I just didn't put my hand down.
Okay. Alex, you have your hand up. You're muted.
There, I have a question for Tom, because a couple of years ago, when, as part of the grounding system for every station, you specified a kind of surge protector that we went out and bought. So we have 5 of those in the trailer for people that don't want to spend the money. So that's sufficient, right?
It's not optimum, but yes, it is sufficient.
Okay, good. So people that don't want to go out and buy or don't have time to buy, we do have 5 of those in the trailer.
But for the future of your operating position, you might consider getting an isobar or something equal
Right.
at your
Okay.
earliest convenience.
All right, thanks.
Okay, Hank, you have a comment?
Yeah, I'd like to meet with you and Paul, I'm sorry, with Ed, KC3JJ, after the meeting to discuss my antenna arrangement with the trailer, if that's all right.
Fine by me.
Ed, you still around?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you stick around?
Oh, yeah,
after
no
the
problem.
meeting?
No problem.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else have questions or comments?
Well, only that, since not everybody will be there when I do that first briefing, if you're going to refuel anything, refuel it away from any operating equipment and have somebody with you that has the extinguisher ready should something go wrong. We don't want anybody horribly hurt or burned, and a few minutes precautions could take care of that. So please remember that one thing. This is gasoline. It's a flammable liquid. It doesn't take much to provoke it into burning. Our generators aren't diesel, so this stuff will go off from just a static spark if you're careless.
Okay. Thanks, Dave. Tom, what I'll do is get a summary of this out to the participants and volunteers sometime in the next couple of days, and just keep me up to date on any changes you might have in your plans. And other than that, I think that's it. So back to you, Alex.
Right.